start off with a question. Has any one of you ever been scared of the darkness? If you have and you're brave enough to admit it, raise your hand. Okay, it's good that I'm not the only namby-pamby in here, because when I was younger, I was terrified of the darkness. I couldn't go to sleep if I didn't have my bed light on. And this is the one I had. And also, when I was a little bit older, during the first classes of my primary school, when I entered the dark room, I always preferred someone else to go in there with me and turn on the light. Of course, the logical part of my brain knew that there was nothing lurking in the shadows. But wasn't there really? And then, after some time, everything changed when my dad came back from a work trip abroad. And he brought me a special souvenir. It wasn't a bear or a postcard. It looked to me back then kind of like a tube on legs. Now I know, and you probably know too, that it was a telescope. And I quickly realized that people use it to watch objects that are far away. And so, at first, of course, I used it to spy at my neighbors. But after some time, I also realized that you can use it for astronomy. And my first experience with that was watching the moon. It was totally amazing because I could see all the craters, the valleys and the mountains on there. But after some time, a problem came up for me, because I understood that I can't watch everything that I would like to see when it's too bright outside. And to understand why, let me ask you another question. How many stars can you see during the day? Well, only one, the sun, because it's so bright that you can't really make out anything else. The light waves from it are coming bouncing up and down from the Earth and in the atmosphere, and it results in a bright glow that obscures everything else. And a similar effect happens during the night, and it's called light pollution. If you have any bright light source near you, like a light bulb or a street light or an LED lamp, everything else becomes less visible. And so I had to venture out of my comfort zone a little bit if I wanted to see some cooler stuff. Because by that time, I was really into astronomy. I was reading books, articles, and watching films. And I not only wanted to get the knowledge that I theoretically could have, but I wanted also to have some practice. And I wanted to see some of these cool things like the Pleiades, Saturn, Jupiter, or the Andromeda Galaxy. And because I couldn't perform all my observations from my room because it was too bright, I had to go at first to my garden, then to the darkest corner of my garden, then to the nearby field. And with every one of those steps I was taking, I could see some more cool stuff. And that's basically how I overcame my fear of the darkness, because after some time, it wasn't scary for me anymore. And if you'd like to see the effect that light pollution has, this is the sky that we would probably be able to see right now above us if it wasn't cloudy. You can see that the sun is very bright and all the sky is shining too. But as the sun slowly goes down, the sky is dimming. And around the time when it's the sunset, you can see a bright aura near the horizon, but as you look further and further up, the sky is getting darker. And this is the perfect image that we would like to see when we watch the night sky. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like this all the time. And it's because of the phenomenon I was talking to you about earlier, light pollution. And here you can see a spectrum of different light levels during the night. From the left side, these are the most light polluted places, like big cities, metropolis. And as we go further and further right down the scale, we can see more rural areas. And when I was starting out with astronomy and with watching the night sky, I was probably around 7 or 5 because I live in the suburban area of Warsaw. But if you have a home near Ostrołęka, in the more rural areas, you are really lucky because maybe you can see even the sky at around 3. And here is a photo that's a nightmare to probably every astronomer and stargazer that lives in Europe. You can see that the whole continent is practically glowing like a light bulb, especially near the Netherlands and Italy, but Poland is pretty bright too. So if you'd like to see the sky, for example, from the center of Rome, you probably wouldn't see anything. or nearly anything. And because light pollution is such a big problem for astronomers, there are many foundations and organizations that make maps of the level of light during the night in the sky. And here you can see a map of Poland, and around Warsaw it's totally terrible, so let's not talk about that. But near Ostrołęka it's a little bit better. And also you can see here that near Mazuria lakes and at the seaside, the sky is much better. And that's why every time I go on holiday, I take my binoculars or my telescope with me to see the sky a little bit better. And also probably the best place to observe the night sky from Poland is Bieszczady Mountains. And I actually went there a couple of years ago to enjoy the view. And here's what I saw. It's totally amazing, and for me it was once in a lifetime experience, but totally worth the wait and the travel. Of course, I didn't see the sky exactly as it looks like here, because it's very colourful and the photo is pretty shiny, but when I was looking at it with my naked eye, it still made an amazing impression. As you can see from my talk, probably, darkness is a really important topic for astronomers. It is in right now. You may have heard of such things as dark matter or dark energy that people are researching, but also when it comes to the way we can interact with the sky, for thousands of years, the only way that people could see it, and that's probably how Copernicus, Ptolemy, Galileo, Halley, and all these other famous people saw it, was with the light that we can see with our naked eye. But as you can see on the light spectrum, there are many other types of light waves that we can research and go into. And during the 20th century, when the technology got very advanced, we made some measuring tools that make it possible for us to research also all those other types of light waves. So now's the time for infrared and ultraviolet. Not only this tiny sliver of light that we can see with our naked eye. And one of the most important stories that is connected with darkness in astronomy happened around the late 90s. And for you to understand why it's such a remarkable event, you first need to know what the Hubble telescope is. Well, it's only one of the most advanced pieces of technology that people ever took to space with them in the 20th century. It's a telescope that was designed especially to take photos of very well-known landmarks in the sky, like big galaxies and nebulae. But a group of astronomers around 1995 had a crazy idea. They wanted to point this telescope at the darkest possible region in the sky they could find. And of course, many naysayers came forward and said that they were totally crazy, and if they were looking at nothing, they would see nothing. And also, every single day of the operation of this telescope cost millions of dollars. So it was a really courageous decision when people actually accepted their idea. And they were looking at a very tiny region in the sky. If you'd like to see how tiny it was, you have to put your hand forward. Come on, do it. And look at your index finger that's extended. See your fingernail? If you were going to look at the sky and try to find this region, you would have to look for a place that's 30 times smaller than your fingernail that you can see right now. So it's not that big. But what came from this experiment? The photos came back to Earth around Christmas 1995. And in my opinion, it was not only one of the best photos of the sky ever taken, but also probably for those people, one of the most amazing Christmas presents they could ever get. And, well, you might think this is just a combination of some murky, colourful blobs, and there's nothing quite interesting to see here. But, well, you're wrong if you think this way, because every single one of those colourful blobs that you can see on this picture is a different galaxy, just like the Milky Way, full of thousands of stars. And many of them that you can see here are among the furthest and youngest that we ever saw. So much in the darkness. And this all came from a crazy idea of a couple of people who wanted to think outside the box. But if you'd like to discover the sky for yourself, do you need a $2 billion telescope, or do you need to go to Bieszczady Mountains? Not really. You just need to have the courage to look up. It doesn't matter if you're a biologist, a mathematician, a politician, or an artist. The sky always has something interesting in store for you. And right now, around the 22nd of September, is one of the best moments to do so, because the September equinox is coming, and it's the time when the sun hits the earth exactly vertically to the equator. And this means that the day and night are exactly the same length, 12 hours. From this point onwards, the nights will be getting longer, with the days getting shorter, and probably one of the only people who will be celebrating will be the stargazers and astronomers, so why not join in the fun? And if you'd like to orient yourself around the sky a little bit better, you can of course learn all those constellations that were thought up by people thousands of years ago. But you don't need to, because in my opinion they aren't very easy to learn. And when I was just starting out with astronomy, when I was younger, I didn't bother to learn them, and I had my own system. I made up my own constellations, like the constellation of a heart, of a letter, of a ruler, and I can still spot them on the sky right now, and they were great points to orient myself around the sky. So it doesn't matter which path you choose or what you'd like to see, the sky always has something interesting prepared. So let's enjoy the most amazing nighttime spectacle that the cosmos has to offer, and discover for yourself that the darkness isn't really that dark or scary. Thank you.